Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Paul7931 as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen from Voision Xi, as well as Xiao Jun. This track is titled Turn on the Planet, off of the Lost for Words album. So we're going to listen through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. It's very charming. So relaxing to listen to with those reverb tails and the way the guitars are processed.
Stars on a journey when he fails to see the air needs to float for his getting free. Wander without guide, stride of new life, perch all those gates for which single fate.
I love the flexibility with the harmonies. I mean, there's a few uncomfortable interludes there, but not in a way that's discouraging. It's more that we're being very creative with the way we explore our chromatics. The minimalism with the percussion really helps here because of the complexity with the other bits.
Stars on a journey when he fails to see the air needs to float for his getting free. Wander without guide, stride of new life, perch all those gates for which single fate.
It's kind of progressive, isn't it? Or at the very least experimental. Phenomenal lead phrasing. It truly is a journey we're going on. You can hear those ghost notes. Sorry to interrupt, but you can hear the ghost notes on the kit as well with the snare as it's stunning.
Turn on the planet. Turn on your planet.
It's very peaceful now because of the way we've kind of removed a lot of the chromaticism before. Resolved nicely. And it was predominantly synths and drums and some guitar parts and bass and the vocals, right? The traditional setup, but I felt like we really wanted a massive adventure with this one. And the really gradual, beautiful, ethereal fade out is just the icing on the cake. We just got some lyrics here to look through as well. You know, start on a journey when here feels dizzy, the air needs to float. Bride of a new life, purge all those gates for each single fate. I mean, I'm not sure if this is literal. I'm assuming it's metaphorical. Wait for an audio, wait for the key. Find your engine. Basically, is this discussing someone getting started on an adventure? They feel a bit dizzy because maybe they haven't done it in a while. Their hair's getting free as in they're letting their hair free or letting their hair down. And eventually you find a way to kind of propel yourself forward and motivate yourself to do this thing where you turn on the planet. You know, release and spin, turn on the planet within your wish. So, okay, I think we got this one. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Voision Xi with Xiao Jun, titled Turn on the Planet. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think it's basically, in a kind of grandiose way, suggesting that we need to basically look into ourselves, find our own sort of motivation to continue going, have a grand plan. And once we find the way to start it, it's about finding a way to continue it. If that makes any sense at all. That's my interpretation, you know, like it talks about how we're dizzy at the start again, which is sort of inferring that we're maybe unsure of ourselves, but eventually we find our footing and we find a way within ourselves, a secret, to kind of make the most out of our plan, enact change, and do our thing. And I think that's basically what the track is about. I think it's an interesting subject to talk about. I'm sure a lot of people are looking for a reason to find hope and motivation at this point. And I like the fact that we're writing music about it. It's well done. The story is intriguing and compelling, and I'm pretty sure I don't have it down to a T, but it's a good start. The vocal style that we had there was very calm and therapeutic. It was very relaxed, kind of breathy, great control of the head and chest voice, nice combination of main leads and the sides as well. Often when we had the main sort of leads would kind of move around the sides of the stereo field as well, which is kind of neat. You know, we explored that range. And in general, it was just a really charming performance there. We didn't want any of these kind of elements to be too aggressive or intimidating, and I like the fact that it was more sort of like gently suggestive and comforting, and it was trying to encourage you to turn on your engine and find that key and, you know, turn on the planet. I like that approach to it. Emotively made sense, performatively, very satisfying. And I feel better after listening to it. There was really elegant, you know, movement around the various chord shapes and harmonies and bass lines and etc. and the chromaticisms and the different changes and modulations there, which I think is also exemplary. It's very difficult to sing over music like this and to make it sound musical and have it make sense to the average listener, and I think that they managed to accomplish that. The track at 5 minutes 30 had a lot of depth to it, and I think that it made the most of that real estate. We had verses and choruses there, but we also had instrumental sections there where we fully explored the guitars, bass, drums, and keys within the mix, as well as the synths there. I think a lot of what made this track incredibly special was the attention to detail within the individual elements there. If I talk about a few other things I really appreciated, I think the drums pocketed phenomenally well, but they also could definitely play. There was a wonderful dynamic range to the performance on the percussion, and we had these wonderful ghost notes on the snares and stuff like that. We knew not to overplay on the kit. It was reasonably busy at some points, but it never felt like too much because we were allowing dynamic space for the other elements to dominate, even though the track was never too overwhelming to begin with, as I mentioned before. And I think that we kept the groove going at a slower tempo, made the most of the 16 and 30 seconds whenever they were applicable, and just genuinely elevated the mood because of it. Was not sort of like fermenting it too much. I think the guitar parts outside of the solo section were very, very accommodating for the vocal parts, despite the complexity of the arrangement. We harmonized well with what the bass was doing underneath, with the bass allowing loud, fair movement throughout the triads and other parts of its scale shape. And we simmered on top of the drum parts. The solo section, once we had that free reign, was really intriguing. I'm not necessarily sure how they managed to make it sound as good as they did, because there are a lot of notes in there that I wouldn't necessarily have expected or needed, but it was like they found room within the various engagements and just allowed themselves to sort of set themselves free. It was almost like they turned on their own engine and turned on their own planet, and they got started on their own one. It's almost like the solo section is there sort of scattering around the cosmos trying to find that raison d'etre, so to speak. So I think that it was a nice departure from the leads at that point, the vocal parts, and was again the icing on the cake. It was just very charming. Even if it was kind of experimental or progressive, I don't think it detracted from it. The synth parts were not only sort of great for enhancing the various chord progressions that we have with the sevenths, the extensions, the chromatics, whatever, but they were also just interesting in regards to the timbre. It was nice to have a sense of warbly kind of mistiness with the reverbs and delay tails, etc., to kind of have a sense of ghostliness and cloudiness, as if you're kind of working things out within your own head, within your own mind to sort of move forward. And it was very compelling in regards to the way it was proposed and performed. It filled in a nice niche within the high and mid ranges there that was not necessarily missing from the other elements within the arrangement, but nonetheless filled it out in a way where like it made it better for it. And I think ultimately it contributed to an overall theme where it was like you're going on like a big adventure. It was never super overwhelming, as I've said several times. I need to find a different word other than overwhelming. It was very sophisticated and made you kind of wonder whether you were really going to find a solution. There was hope later on within the arrangement, I think, because we stopped with some of the uncertainty with some of the choices, with the note choices in those earlier hooks. And I like the fact that the theme eventually got to a point after the solo where we came to a sort of an epiphany of sorts. You know, that was great. We had change there and adjustment and lots of different things going on, which presents a fundamental understanding of music theory and composition through the intermediate and advanced stages. And they're definitely the people that should be playing this kind of music. But ultimately, it was just a very smart piece of music that I think went through the journey they were discussing within the lyrics to a way that was very appropriate, both tonally and emotionally, and I can understand why things were done the way they were, and it was very impressive. So I think everything was integrated nicely, and it was not a note out of place. And I mean, finally, it's just the studio recording, mixing and mastering where, if I'm honest, it was just, it was commercial grade. There was a lot of dynamic range, the difference between the loud and quiet notes there, but things were nicely spaced within the stereo field and the frequency spectrum with little to no resonant frequencies there, things nicely niched. If there were some resonances, they were very slight, but ultimately we simply had a situation here where the band could just play. The actual performance was captured in a way that was very respectful to the original material from the post-production perspective. We did have extra effects added, like the reverbs and delays, and there's a bit of automation of the panning and stuff like that, but aside from that, it was just very organic, and I think it was just a journey that we went on together. It was a band that was very confident within themselves to be able to deliver the experience they needed to, and I think that with the vocal performance captured really elegantly and everything else, and with the dynamic range in place, it's just the fact that it was nice and loud without pumping, so the limiting bus compression was handled well. I mean, effectively, this is just a really fantastic first impression of what Voision Xi is all about, with Zhao Jun, with their track Turn on the Planet off of the album Lost for Words, and hopefully enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Patrons video. Spiderhands out.